Okay, hello, welcome to the Technicamps podcast, Techno Talks. And today we're going to be talking about everything law and STEM related. And we're going to be doing that with Lorna Bolton. So do you want to introduce yourself, Lorna?
Hi, thanks. Yeah, so I'm Lorna Bolton. I'm a commercial and intellectual property director for a company called Greenaway Scott, which is a corporate and commercial law firm based in Cardiff. And I head up our Bristol branch of the office. So yeah, and I'm here to talk to you today.
Excellent, thank you so much. I have to say, this is a podcast, but you are very glamorous. That's my. I feel very underdressed in my hoodie, but it's on. It's
well,
on.
I've got one on as well. It just looks
Okay. It's only on the sort of radio, so we're all right with that. But yeah, when your introduction, you've got some quite impressive titles there, which we'll go into and sort of look at all the different areas that you work in. So you work in law as an overall sort of thing with lots of different things involved. So how did you get to where you are? If someone wanted to work in law as, a lawyer, solicitor, we'll go into the different sort of terms and things. How would they get there? How did you get there? What was your education like?
There's various different ways actually now. The traditional way was, you go to uni, you do a law degree, you do your LPC, which is a learning practice course to be a solicitor. Mm-hmm. And then you have to get a training contract with a law firm, which is a 2-year on-the-job training course.
Right, okay.
So that was my plan. I went to Swansea University actually, mm-hmm. Had a great time, lots of time in Wine Street too. But so I did my law degree, and then I stayed on in Swansea University to do my learning practice course, which is the course that you do in order to become a solicitor. So I knew that I wanted to do business, so business and commercial law. Right. So I chose all of my modules really around that. I think gone are the days where, you'd have a high street solicitor, which knows sort of a little bit about a lot. They do everything. These days, it's better to be specialised in one area and know a lot about that thing. I don't pretend that I know anything about, another like family law, for example. Okay. So I chose all of my my modules around that. And then I started applying for training contracts. I got one because I did quite a lot of work experience. So I actually, when I first started off in law, I had this vision of me being a commercial defence barrister, and I was going to stand up in court and I was going to defend all of these people. And
like you would see on TV, like
that's what
the famous
I thought
barristers,
and I think everyone that starts off has this vision. And I actually did a 2-week work experience with the Crown Prosecution Service, which are the prosecutors, so they are putting the people away. And I saw two pretty horrendous cases. One was a paedophile case, and one was a rape case, and it really brought home how serious it is, and how maybe defending these people would be very difficult. Not just difficult as in your job, but as in morally difficult.
Yeah, it's a personal sort of choice to do it.
So then I decided that maybe it's not for me.
It's not for everyone. I'm sure there are some people who sort of relish the challenge.
To start off at that, you'd get called out sort of middle of the night to defend somebody in a police station. So I thought, no, I'm going to stick to business and commercial. So I did work experience with a commercial property law firm based in Newport. I had a great time. I absolutely loved it. Really.
So commercial property is sort of shops and business sort of things,
So any sort of like large warehouses, factories, shops, anything that a business would buy and use to operate their business. But they do have other areas of commercial as well. And I had a great time. Loved it. they really liked me, and they said to me, once you finish your LPC, as long as you've passed, we will give you a training contract. So I was like, brilliant,
nice.
Amazing. So everything seemed to be on track, and then I passed my LPC. They said fine, and then that unfortunately was the beginning of the summer of the credit crunch.
Ah, right, okay.
So I didn't apply, obviously, for any other training contracts anywhere else, because I thought I'd had
You
it.
thought it was guaranteed, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, they had to write to me sort of end of the summer and say, we're really sorry, but we've had to make mass redundancies, and we can't honour your training contract. So I was in a bit of a panic then, thinking my world's come crashing down. So I just got a job in sales, essentially, just to make ends meet, and started applying for jobs, and I went for just work experience, basically, at a company called M&A. I think they're now Acuity Law.
Right.
And yeah, and I stayed there for, it was just a temporary job. I did a lot of photocopying and not much
office sort of stuff,
law.
Okay, even though you qualified, you still had to do that.
Yeah, because it was just sort of just come in, see how you do it, and that's a lot, you know. So you start off really now as a paralegal, and a lot of companies would ask you to be a paralegal for a certain amount of time to see.
And is that basically a supporting?
Yeah, so
people who are doing the full job.
Yeah. So it's, you do still do law, but you're very, you know, you're just learning the ropes. You're learning how to photocopy, what you need to photocopy, what bundles are.
Sort of the filing and the organisation and stuff.
You need to know everything from the bottom. So, and as long as they're happy with you at that stage, then you get the opportunity to be offered a training contract. But this was just work experience. So during that time, I applied to a company called King's Legal, which were actually bought out by Beechcroft Solicitors. So I joined there, and I worked there as a paralegal for 2 years, which was in personal injury.
Right, okay.
So on behalf of insurance companies.
So this is what you see on TV, like, have you had an accident and you want to claim for injury and stuff?
I was on the other side, so I would be defending the insurance companies against those claims.
Oh, okay.
So that was a really good steep learning curve, because I wasn't photocopying anymore. I was really in there. I was advising, you know, you are supervised by a qualified lawyer or solicitor. And yeah, and I worked there for 2 years, and then they offered me the training contract. So I was like, brilliant. And then that was with King's Legal, and then they got bought out by Beechcroft. And Beechcroft said, we're not honouring any training contract.
Oh no, God, you've had some bad luck then.
Yeah, honestly, at that point, I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to give up. And
it's not meant to be. Yeah.
I thought it's going to take me forever to get to where I want to be. I'm going to be really old by the time I get there. And then I looked into not doing a training contract, but it's a course called ILEX.
Right.
So it's basically, you can do the ILEX if you don't have a degree or have a different degree, but it's 5 years. But because I'd done my LPC, which is my learning practice course, I didn't have to do any of the exams. All I needed was 5 years experience.
Right.
So and then you could back count the experience.
Okay, so you've already had some to put towards
so I'd already had 3 years experience by this point. So I thought, do you know what, instead of looking for another training contract, which is going to take me 2 years, if I just sign up to this course, I'll do another 2 years and then I'll be qualified.
And you've got it anyway, yeah.
So that's what I did. And
I think looking for alternatives, if you can't do the usual routes, that just proves that, you know, there might be something out there if you can't sort of do the usual thing.
There's loads of options now. You know, you don't have to do the traditional way. And it doesn't stop you from getting what you want in the end. So yeah, I did that, and whilst I was doing that, I saw a job advertised for an aviation and engineering company.
Okay, so here comes the STEM link.
This is the STEM link.
Yeah.
And because I wanted to do business, personal injury wasn't really what I wanted to do. I just sort of taken it as a means to an end to just get qualified.
Yeah.
So I saw the job, got it. And so I was an in-house lawyer. So that means that you're not working for a law firm. You are working as a qualified solicitor. Well, I was under a qualified solicitor, but you're employed directly by the company.
Right. So you're like, the company is a STEM company, so it was an aviation company, and you were a lawyer employed by them to work for them.
Yeah, so I worked solely for them. I didn't have that, they were essentially my client per se.
Okay.
But yeah, I just worked solely for them. And I absolutely loved it. It was fantastic.
That's good.
Yeah,
finally got there after all.
Finally got there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the company, so they bought and sold aircraft. So I mean, your big Boeings, your Airbus, you know, the big jumbos that you go on holiday on.
Yeah.
So we would buy and sell them all across the world.
Wow.
Actually, the engines, you take them on and off and you swap them. So we used to take the engines off, service them, or if they've come to their end of their life, strip them down, sell them for parts. And we actually had my office was above the warehouse, so I could see the engines coming in and out.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great. So it was all engineering, and we worked directly with the sales guys, we worked directly with engineers, physically seeing what was going on, and then putting that into contracts. So we would negotiate with British Airways, with you know, TUI, everyone across the world. So it was great. And then I qualified. I was there for 5 years, and I just thought then I just wanted to go back into like a law firm.
So to work with lots of different people rather than within the same company.
Because I felt like I had such good experience, and the work that I was exposed to, and the values of the contracts were in millions.
You can imagine an aeroplane costs a lot of money. Yeah.
And I just thought I had a lot to offer, lots of clients. So then I applied for Greenaway Scott, which is the company that I work for now.
Yeah.
And so because of their background in STEM, so Rhian Osborne, who is the founder, she actually completed her degree in neuroscience at Cardiff University.
Right. Okay.
And she previously worked as a primary care medical rep for Wyeth Pharmaceuticals before it incorporated into Pfizer. So her background was completely STEM, and because she had worked in-house as well, you know, we offer essentially like an in-house style service
to
STEM companies.
Okay.
So yeah, I joined Greenaway Scott, and I joined as a senior solicitor at the time, and I've been there now, it'll be 5 years in November, and I'm now director, shareholder, head of my own office.
You've got to where you wanted to be, no matter what the setbacks were originally.
You know, all before the age of 33. So
oh my goodness, that's amazing.
So you know, the moral of the story really is you will hit setbacks. Like nothing is ever easy. You will probably fail at certain things. Doors will be closed, but if you really want to do it, just keep going.
Keep going. I think work experience is a big thing as well, and a variety of work experience as well, and not worrying about, you know, doing an office job when you want to be a lawyer. It's sort of balancing that work experience and then using that as a stepping stone to get to where you want to go. So really important. And maybe you wouldn't have been where you are if you hadn't got that variety of work experience.
No,
and got that initial training contract that sort of went away.
If I'd have got that training contract, I wouldn't be here with the experience that I've got now. So you know, at the end of the day, it was bad at the time, and really disappointing. I wouldn't change it for the world now.
Excellent. So it's a brilliant story, that, actually, really inspiring. Cool. I think that's great. So within law, we'll talk about the STEM in a minute, but you've mentioned quite a few things. So I've said lawyer, we've said solicitor, and you've said about Rhian, one of your directors, having a science background, but also now being in law. So
Yeah.
can you explain like the different things, the different roles? So solicitor, lawyer, barrister, you know, all the different things that we talk about. And then we'll talk about how you can convert maybe from a degree into, and then coming into law.
Yeah, definitely. So so I did a law degree, which is the standard law degree, LLB. And then I did, so once you complete your law degree, that you've got two options. If you do actually want, I mean, you could use the law degree for anything, you know.
You don't have to actually go into law.
So,
it's just
it opens a lot of doors having a law degree, regardless of what you actually go into. But if you do want to become a lawyer, and I say lawyer because that's an American term, really, but that's just a person that works in law.
Right. Okay.
So you've got two options. It's either be a solicitor or a barrister. So a solicitor is like myself. I sit at a desk and I do all of the paperwork. I draft contracts. You know, I do all of the first bits with the client, depending on sort of what area of law you go into. And that, in order to get there, you need to do, well, you don't need to, but the route that I took was to do the learning practice course.
Right.
It's shortened to an LPC. If you wanted to become a barrister, which are the people in the fancy wigs that stand up in court,
that you see on the TV, they're the typical image you've got,
the life of glamour, as they like to portray it. So you would need to do your bar course, which is
right. You hear a lot about the bar, don't you? So that's another course, a training course.
Yeah, it's completely different, and there's obviously a lot of advocacy, which is, you know, practicing standing up, arguing your case and how to portray yourself, and so that's what you do if you want to become a barrister. But I chose the learning practice course, which was to become a solicitor.
Okay.
So Rian, she did her degree in neuroscience, so she didn't do law at all.
Okay.
But there's a course called the GDL.
We have been doing our research, haven't we?
Yeah,
we can say that to the audience.
A graduate diploma in law. So she did the GDL, and that basically, it's a year course. So whatever degree you've got, you can, and there we did actually have a team of lawyers that all had degrees in science that had done the GDL to cross qualify. So they took that, and it's a year course, and then you've got like a dual degree, basically.
Yeah,
so you've got
your degree in your subject area, and then your law,
and then you've got a degree in
the additional year.
Degree in law, sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then from that point, then you take the same decision. Do you do the LPC? Do you do the bar?
Okay. Right.
But of course, you don't even need to do that. You know, you can become a paralegal without a degree and do the ILEX course, which is what I did. Which is 5 years. And so
that's more almost like an apprenticeship route in a way for other sort of subject areas. So you're working and getting experience and doing the course at the same time. With that course. Yeah.
So but I think there's another avenue now which is new, but you know, I feel like the training bit was so far long ago for me. I don't actually know
you don't know everything, but there's definitely options for
there's always options. And you know, I actually did my LPC in Swansea University, so it was just like an extra year of you know, living in being a student. But we have trainees with us, so that we give them a training contract, but they haven't finished their LPC. So you can do your LPC over 2 years, and work on the job at the same time. And I actually think that, although it's very difficult because you've got to go to work every day,
you've got to study and work,
and you've got to study, but it's over 2 years, so it's not as intense. But they get really good experience, and
that's that work experience is really valuable, isn't it?
And so when they're doing the exams, you know, they've got real life, you know,
examples,
they know.
Oh, fair enough. No, that's a good point, definitely.
So there's loads of ways.
Brilliant. Okay. So anyone who's interested in law but also enjoys STEM, there's no reason why you can't do both, basically. That's what we're saying, isn't it? So you can get your degree, you can either get a degree in law, get a degree in science, and then sort of do a top up almost. Yeah.
Yeah, you could. So, you know, a lot of my clients are in STEM. You know, we're heavily involved with Medi Wales, which is like a collective of all of the STEM companies in Wales.
Okay.
We work a lot with spin out companies. So we've got a lot of pharmaceutical companies, biotech companies, which are companies that are born from university.
Right. Okay. From the research universities, and then they make a company to sell whatever they've developed.
Yeah. So you know, and my job is really, so they do a research and development.
Yep.
And I would draft all of the research and development contracts for them to collaborate with another party, making sure that they, you know, someone who, like, it's called know-how, but you know that their ideas remain their ideas. And
right. So this is that the link to the intellectual property stuff that we've. So I know you mentioned that as well, didn't you? So intellectual property is like their knowledge is protected. So you know they gain from that rather than.
So that it just protects them. So you'd have to put a contract in place. If two companies were going to, if one person had developed one element of a product and another person had developed another element, and I thought, wonder what would happen if we put these two together. They'd want to know the answer, but they don't want the other company to steal it. So you'd have a contract in place which clearly dictates that, look, this is our product, we own that, and the rights in that product, that's yours. And then you have to reach an agreement really about who owns the end product once those two products
or maybe do you look at sort of the percentages as well? So obviously if they're going to make money out of a product, is it going to be 50-50, or did one half of the company put more into it than the other? And so
and does one person own it entirely and license it to the other? There's various different options. So that's all of the legal complexities I deal with and advise on, and I draft the contract. But it is heavily involved in STEM. So we are, you know, we need to understand our clients' products that are in STEM, and how it's been developed. And you know, I go and see them, and they're in their labs in their white coats. And
cool. Cool. So there is a big benefit of having a STEM background in those sort of that sort of working environment.
Definitely, so that you can fully understand what needs to be protected. And it's great to go in and have an understanding and actually physically see how people are working and understand the process, so that, because essentially you're protecting them, so in order to protect them you need to understand what it is
that they've developed. And okay, I never really thought about it like that. So and I suppose it's in the commercial world, in the business world, that is really important, because obviously businesses are there to make money, and they need to be able to protect what they've developed, so that nobody else can just sort of take the idea and take the money away from them, I guess, by.
Yeah, absolutely. There's different elements to intellectual property. So you've got your copyright, which is just, you know, words on a piece of paper. So if you wrote a book, you'd have the copyright in that book, and no one could copy it. You've got registered designs, you've got trademarks, and you've got patents. So it's all about protecting all of that. And it's not just so that people can't copy, because, you know, the value is you selling your product, but the value is also you licensing it to really big companies.
So does that mean that you give them the right to make what you've designed, but you make money off that? So you sort of give them the permission.
You give them a license, essentially, to say you've got the right. I mean, it could be exclusive, non-exclusive. It depends on how valuable it is. So, for example, I've got a client that's in the aviation industry, and they've developed a new way of building a part of an aircraft, which would make it lighter, faster, cheaper. So whilst they are still at the very infancy, their very early stages of their company, you've got huge aircraft manufacturers that would love to have that. So their value isn't really, they're not probably going to manufacture those parts and sell them themselves, because that's not what they do, but they have done the development. So their value would come from licensing that to the aircraft manufacturers,
who can then do the big development and actually build the parts. So you can make money by developing items and then license them to the big companies to actually make them and sell them, and you can make your money that way, rather than actually making something and selling it directly yourself. That's something to think about. I think we are having a chat with some entrepreneurs and some people in business in STEM, and it's an interesting sort of thing that I've never thought about. How do you make money from your knowledge and from research and development? There may be researchers at universities. How do they then, how does that go on then to make money? So interesting ideas there. So if people are into business, it's definitely something that you can do in the future. This has been really interesting, something that I don't know anything about, I have to say, the world of law. So really, really interesting. I think it's amazing. Your company in particular, I was looking at all your staff. You have quite a high number of women in the top roles, in the sort of director roles and things, don't you? Is that common in law, or how do you find the split between men and women in the roles?
No, apparently it's not common. We there's a lot of activity around champion women in business and women in law. But in Greenaway Scott we have a lot of women.
And it's just happens to be the best people for the job.
It's been. I mean, we are expanding our team, and we do have some new guys joining the team. I mean, I'm sure I don't know how they must feel walking into an office as just an army of women currently. But it's just the way that it is, really, or the way that it's worked out for us. And I know it's not like that across the board, but we do get quite a lot of comments about how great it is that we've got a lot of women and
women-led,
definitely as women directors and shareholders, we just take the opinion that it doesn't matter if you're male or female. If you're good at your job and you know what you're doing, then you deserve to progress.
Definitely. So equal opportunities all round. So whoever's best for the job will get that job. Excellent. I guess in STEM as well, if there's fewer women taking STEM degrees and then going into law, obviously, then you'd have that reduced pool of people. But with law in particular, taking away the STEM, did you find, because I know on my course I did a physics degree, so I knew that I would be one of the minority. There were 10 girls out of 50 students or whatever, that sort of thing. How did you find it on your actual degree at university? Was it a good mixture of people on the course?
I would say so. I would say it was probably equal, I would say. I shared a house with there was 6 of us, and 4 of us were in law and 3 of us were girls. So it was about
it's nothing to be sort of intimidated by, or that sort of thing.
No, I mean, obviously when I worked in the aviation company, actually, so the head of legal, she was a lady, and so was I, and the 2 admin legal secretaries, they were women, but obviously because it was an engineering company,
at the time it was dominated.
Men.
But I guess you just step up to the job, don't you, in that situation? You stand your ground. And you did well out of it, so
there's no reason why you can't, especially in this day and age.
Definitely. Brilliant. So thank you so much for talking to me.
No problem.
I have
Thank you for having
again,
me.
every podcast I do, I learn so much about a different sort of career, and I think, oh yeah, that'd be really interesting. If I ever went back, back in time, I could be a lawyer with a STEM background. Very interesting. So I've got a friend actually who ended up going in to be a patent attorney from doing her physics degree, and she did a PhD, and then she went into law after that and went to the patent office in Newport and got her qualification. Did lots of exams. It sounded quite intense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you're passionate about it, just you just do
Yeah,
that,
and
don't you? You just get through it.
yeah, just keep going. And there may be one avenue that's just not for you. If you're not keen on exams and that sort of thing, then you can still go into it and do on-the-job training, which will make it a lot easier for you.
Yeah.
And just have a think about all the options and really do your research before you start, I would say.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so if we have any questions from the audience, which we may do, I will pass them on to you. That'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be great.
Yeah, and if we ever do anything linked to law, have any questions on that, we know we've got an expert we can come to. So thank you very much. Been brilliant to talk to you. And that's the end of today's session with Lorna. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Cheers. Bye.